Some teams in the Championship are building an absolute super team, and some Championship teams already have what you would call a Championship super team. And they don't even need to do that much transfer business, and they're already there pretty much. If you're a fan of Championship content, then do hit subscribe on this channel. We do daily Championship content, so if you're interested in the Championship, then this is the place to be. Do hit that subscribe button. And do drop a like as well if you do go on to enjoy this video. So a team that I just wanted to start off by talking about is Leicester City. Now, I did a TikTok on Leicester earlier, and I was looking at their team that they just put out in their pre-season friendly against that team. I don't even want to try and pronounce them. They won 1-0. But I was just looking at the sheer options that Leicester actually have in their team. Now, they've not made any transfers in the transfer window at all. They've been obviously very quiet for the reasons that we know. They're obviously going to be getting a points deduction at some point, we're expecting. They've just appointed Martin Cifuentes as their manager. But it's just very interesting to see how many options they actually have. And, you know, in the Premier, they were considered pretty much useless under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And, you know, everybody already wrote off the newly promoted teams pretty much before the season had started. And there'll be a kind of similar vibe going into next season for the newly promoted teams in the Championship. Maybe not so as much as what it was this last season just gone. But the amount of options that Leicester have in their side is ridiculous. Now, granted, of course, they are going to lose players. They're going to lose players between now and the start of the Championship season. They'll probably lose players during the Championship season as well when the first few games kicked off. You'd imagine as it gets close to deadline day, a few of these Leicester players will probably be on their way. We've seen Connor Cody linked with Rangers recently. I've seen that link. And Abila Okanus, who's a player that is a ridiculous talent, still only 21 years old. He's been linked with a move to Sunderland and a few other Premier League clubs as well, maybe teams across Europe as well. And he's a player that I do think, if Leicester keep him in the Championship, this guy would be an absolute cheat code. And you're talking about the best player in the Championship if this guy does stay. Now, the chance in him staying, I do think, is quite low. Now, it starts in the Premier League, you probably say, oh, they're not the best, 2 goals, 3 assists. But we saw at the back end of the season under Ruud van Nistelrooy, he was actually very decent. And he's a player that's got clear quality and so much natural talent where you think he could potentially go to another Premier League club and he'd look in place at a club that's, you know, not a club like Leicester where they were struggling so badly last season. Put him in a decent operating Premier League team, and I think you might be able to see the best out of Okanus. And as I say, he's still only 21 as well. But then you look at this starting 11 here, you know, a lot of these players got promoted with Leicester initially in their promotion season from the Championship last time, and as well as that, the substitutes is just where I want to kind of talk about here, because, you know, you've got your options there as your wingers. You've got McAteer, let's say Elkanus goes, then you've got Jeremy Mongo as well, 2 very decent wingers there, and obviously Jeremy Mongo, 16 years old, by the way. You know, he's got so much potential, and he's going to be such an exciting player to watch and see how he kind of adapts to Championship football and see how he gets on playing in the Championship. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Genuinely one of the most exciting players in terms of players you've got to be looking forward to watching in the Championship week in, week out. Hopefully he gets good minutes, and hopefully he does do really well in the Championship. You've also got Will Alves as well, who's a very young player who was on loan at Cardiff last season, who is another player that's got a lot of potential, who we could see quite a lot during the course of this season. But then I wanted to talk about the winger options. Now, Fatawu and Mavididi, they lit up the Championship last time they were there, and they're back in the Championship again this season. And, you know, you look at that season for Mavididi, 13 goals or 12 goals in the Championship, 6 assists. Fatawu, a very good record as well. Both coming back from an injury as well from the back end of the season. But I think these two, if they can hit the ground running in the Championship season, Leicester have got 2 top-end, like real top-end Championship wingers at their disposal. And you've also got Jordan Ayew, which I know probably Leicester fans don't really rate him at all. But in the Championship, you know, it's a completely different ball game to the Premier League, to the Championship. He's played many years in the Premier League, by the way. Jordan Ayew has as well. Just the amount of talent they've got there, you know, as I say, from the bench, Mavididi, Ayew, Fatawu, all on the bench. You got Will Alves as well as a young player coming through, with the talent of Jeremy Mongo as well. McAteer, they need a new striker. Patson Daka can't hit a barn door. Obviously, Jamie Vardy's gone. They will need a new striker if they really want to kind of, if they really want to cement themselves in a spot in the playoffs. I do think even with that 9-point deduction, which is looking like they're going to get, I still have so much confidence. I said this numerous times. I have so much confidence in Leicester actually still getting the playoffs, even with a 9-point deduction. I look at the likes of Sheffield United last season, who got 90 points or 92 points. You know, they were so far clear in the playoffs. And if Leicester can go and get a 90-point season, even with a 9-point deduction, they're comfortably in playoffs. So I do think Leicester should have playoff ambitions, absolutely. I think Auto's a little bit too much out of the question in terms of the 9-point deduction. And then there's also question marks, I suppose, around that kind of Leicester defence, where Chowdhury came in on loan at Sheffield United and did really well in that right-back position. Connor Cody will probably be on his way. Wout Faes gets memed because it's Wout Faes. At the end of the day, he scores the own goals. and sometimes he lackadaisical in defence. But a Championship, you watched him last time in the Championship, he was actually decent. In the Premier League, he's just not good enough. He's just one of them, where like, he's a very good Championship defender. In the Premier League, it's just a different game, isn't it? And you got Thomas as well. I mean, there's got options on the bench as well. You know, James Justin is another player that struggled last season in the Premier League. And I think at Championship level, though, he'd be absolutely fine. Ricardo Pereira, Vestergaard, Akoli. I think Ndidi will probably be on his way. Maybe Samari will be on his way as well. But they've just got sort of a wealth of options. And even if they don't make any signings, I still think they'll be able to get players, in my opinion. But I do expect them to bring in at least one or two faces, you'd hope. But they are going to be seeing a lot more outgoings than incomings. But as I say, Leicester, I think that squad is ridiculous. You just look at the sheer talent and the amount of options you've got in there. You look at a team that is that really should be up there in terms of in the Championship next season. I spoke about Ipswich a couple of days ago in my video, so I don't want to go too much into depth with Ipswich, but Ipswich are a side that are expected to be right at the top. They've lost a lot of players, you know, they've lost, if you look at their transfers, you know, they've lost Liam Delap, of course, being a big one that they've lost. They also lost, as well as that Kayuste, who returned back from loan. Cameron Burgess, who's been part of that double promotion for Ipswich, and as well as that, Sam Morse, he looks to be on his way as well, which is their club captain, which is always going to be a big loss. And Massimo Luonga, who, you know, he obviously didn't play much in the Premier League last season, but he was an absolutely vital part in Ipswich getting promoted and then back-to-back promotions again. So there's a few players in Twan Zabi as well. You know, you've lost quite a lot of key players there for Ipswich. They brought in that lad over from France who looks to be a very good player from what I've seen from reports and kind of the way that he's been, the way that he's kind of performed over in France from what I've seen. 27 years old, looks to be the ready-made kind of replacement for Kayuste or Morsi, but they definitely need more in the middle of the park. They brought in Kipre as well, as I guess kind of a Twan Zabi kind of type replacement. Kipre can kind of play full-back as well as centre-back as well. It says there, you know, he plays centre-back. I mean, I thought he could play full-back. I swear I've seen him at full-back. But, yeah, Kipre obviously played in the Championship for numerous years, played for West Brom, played for Wigan, I remember him back then as well, Cardiff as well. So he knows the Championship inside out, 28 years old. Will he play week in, week out? I'm not too sure. But they've also lost Enciso as well. But they've got players that they brought in the Premier League. You think in the Championship they can definitely perform at a much higher level, because in the Premier League it's so difficult. You look at the likes of Philogene, Jack Clark, Ogbene would be like a new signing. Then you've got Dario Sherry, a top Championship centre-back as well. Top Championship centre-back. Maybe the best in the league, genuinely, because he was very good for Ipswich as well. So you got players there, and Kayuste going is obviously a massive loss. They're going to need to replace some of these players. I think they're going to need a couple more midfielders, central midfielders, who can bring a bit more to the game as well, because this new signing looks to be kind of like more of a defensive-minded player, maybe more box-to-box kind of midfielder. Ipswich need, as well as probably another option in there as well, and I think they need a forward as well, maybe a couple of other positions. I think they've got a lot of work to do, but I still think their squad's got a ridiculous amount of quality. It's a Championship super team, even despite the losses that they've had so far in the season. And then there's the other relegated team as well in Southampton, which Cameron Archer, from what I've seen, has been smashing it in the pre-season games. I mean, doesn't exactly tell me on FOTMob, but I've seen that Cameron Archer has been bagging goals for fun over in pre-season. Now, I spoke before about Southampton. I think their goalkeeper situation, if Aaron Ramsdale goes, I'm not convinced with McCarthy in the slightest. Bazunu as well, I'm not convinced with. I think they need to kind of address that goalkeeper situation. And then going forward, they've got some fantastic options. You know, they've got Cameron Archer, who I've spoken about just then. At Championship level, we've seen him do so well for Middlesbrough when he was on loan there. And he struggled in the Premier League, of course, but in the Championship, whenever he's been there, his goal return's been very impressive, and he's a player that will be a top Championship striker, in my opinion. And then as well as that, you know, you've got Ross Stewart, Adam Armstrong. I know Southampton fans don't really rate him too highly at the moment, but they've also brought in Damien Downs as well. There's so many striking options there that, you know, if they can get a couple of them firing, they'll be absolutely fine, in my opinion. And then they've also got options in behind the striker as well. I mean, Ben Brereton is another one that kind of gets cooked by Southampton fans, but he's done well in the Championship in the past. We'll see. Not so sure about him. Maybe needs to move on from Southampton. But then the main two, of course, being Matías Fernandes and Tyler Diblin. If they keep hold of one of them, they're going to absolutely light up the Championship, in my opinion. You're talking about one of the best players, if not the best player in the division, in my opinion, when you look at these players, especially Matías Fernandes. He can do so much. He offers so much in that Southampton team. In a side that struggled so badly last season, he really shone as a top talent, and I'll be surprised if he starts Southampton, but you never know. And then, of course, Tyler Diblin as well. He's got a lot more speaking about in terms of big clubs after him, in terms of, like, you know, the links with Aston Villa. I think Spurs have been interested. I think even Man United have as well. only 19 years old. He kind of struggled in the second half of the season. He burst onto the scene and looked unbelievable. I just think it was so difficult for him in a Southampton team that was struggling so badly at the bottom of the league, literally losing games every single week. You know, it's always difficult for an attacking kind of flair player to really make his mark on the games. But you saw the talent there. The natural talent this guy's got is ridiculous, and he's genuinely for me like a future England player. From what I've seen, he's an absolute joke. So we'll see if he's in the Championship. We'll absolutely light it up, and then. You know, you've got experienced players in there that have obviously got promoted with Southampton previously and just got so much experience in general in the game. You know, Joe Aribo being one of them players. And even the players that get memed a lot, you know, like Jan Bednarek. You've also got Jack Stevens as well. You know, these players, they've got promoted with Southampton. But then they've also got young players coming back from loan, like Ronnie Edwards, like Shea Charles as well, where you think they've got a season of Championship football under their belt now. And they're ready to make that step up to a top-end Championship team like Southampton. So I have full confidence. And by the way, Will Still as well. Really exciting appointment. And, you know, he's going to get that Southampton team playing the way that he wants to get them to play. It seems like in pre-season he's kind of already making that quite clear to the Southampton players. And we'll see how he gets in the Championship. I think I have very high hopes of Southampton. And I'm looking at all three of them teams that got relegated from the Premier League. And I know how bad they looked in the Premier League. But the Championship is such a big gap where these teams, in my opinion, should be absolutely right up there. And they've already got near enough super teams in their own respect, the three of them. Or like just such good Championship teams at this level. I've already spoken about Birmingham kind of building their super team as well. And I think they'll be up there come the end of the season, to be honest. With the transfers that they've made, they're not messing about at all. I think they sent an opportunity to kind of strike in terms of getting themselves at least in a playoff position, maybe. And I think with the Leicester points deduction, I think they think they've got a genuine opportunity of getting back-to-back promotion. So they've kind of made transfers that, to me, strikes me as they are going for promotion this season. The likes of Tommy Doyle is a real statement signing. Damari Gray, Brightside, Samuel Kyogo being the main one. So many players they've brought in, and Phil Newman as well. They've really, they've really stamped their authority on the transfer market and really made statements and shown the Championship then they're not here to mess about at all, and they want to be going for that back-to-back promotion. So they're another team that's definitely one to keep an eye on. With some other very good teams in there as well, Sheffield United looked to have started pre-season pretty well under Ruben Sellers as well. Been scoring goals left, right and centre, put 6 past York, and I think they scored a few in their other pre-season game as well. Obviously, we don't really know what's going to go on with some of their best players like Gustavo Hamer, but if he's still there, you can't write Sheffield United off in the slightest as well. So let me know what you're thinking of these super teams in the Championship in the comment section down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. We do daily Championship content, so if you wouldn't mind helping me out, if you've watched this point, you may as well hit that subscribe button. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.